This Voice Registry podcast is brought to you by voicebank.net. This is part 2 of my interview with Terry Berland. So what do you think about where this industry is going? I mean,
Can I just backtrack a little bit?
Absolutely.
I recently was casting a non-union spot. When I do that, I cast the net out all over the place. And one of the things I do is I'll contact voiceover acting teachers and see who they suggest and listen to their demos and then have them do the copy. Well, their demo was so great because the person cut it right and made them a good demo, but a lot of them can't come through with the audition. And one of the problems, unfortunately, now is you don't go in a lot for a casting director, so you don't really get the direction and you don't really know what to do. So that's one challenge that the voice person has. And then the other is when you're given, the casting director like myself will listen to it. Oh, great demo. That person's going to be great. And then they really can't do it as well as their demo. So I would say besides getting a great demo, which you need one, your goal, that's not the end of it. You have to know yourself that was cut and pieced together, like crazy. And how can you come through? Can you really do that?
Yes.
So it's not good enough just to have a great demo.
That, I'm sure everyone who's listening realizes how essential that is. It's always that challenge where so many times these demos are so great, but we do have to ask ourselves, can we deliver?
Exactly.
Also about the ad agencies and your clients. I mean, what kind of perspective do they have? I mean, is there any kind of interesting insight that you could give us about what they want from voice actors?
Again, it depends on, they want someone very flexible usually. And then it depends, if it's a promo type thing, they want someone who has a promo type, good at that technique. If it's comedy, they want someone who's good with comedy. If it's and a lot of times the audition when it comes to comedy is broader than when they actually book it, and then they're brought in tighter in the studio. They'll choose someone because they see the person is good, is flexible, has a range, and then when you're in the booth, they'll direct you the way they want you to be directed, but they feel confident that you'll be able to come through for them.
Boy, it really sounds, Terry, like listening is so important.
Listening is so important because when you get in that booth and you're booked, I mean, you have to come through for them. And coming through doesn't mean 2 takes. It could be 50 takes with little subtle differences, and that doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job. It means you're doing a good job.
What projects are you working on or have you worked on recently?
Well, one that a lot of people have heard is probably the Alamo, the Buffalo, and the Beaver. And that was fun. I brought in a lot of people who have comedy background and improv background who don't have voice agents. And, so that's playing, and that was exciting.
So, Terry, how's your book Breaking Into Commercials doing?
The book is doing great. The voiceover chapter is really interesting. It's people who are very successful in the animation part of the industry, and because there's so many different parts of the voiceover industry also. And then as actor talking about and myself talking about what happens when you get into the studio, how you have to come through, what's expected. And, the more that anyone knows, the better it is for them. And we are always looking for good talent. I love when I find someone new. It makes me look good.
Do you ever find people at, like, Starbucks and just when you're walking around in life?
Well, for voiceover, it's hard because when you get in front of that mic, if you're not any kind of actor, you don't know how to hear the direction, and then you could hear it, but you don't know how to tell, you know how to tell your brain, but then how is your brain and your vocal cords going to react? So it's very unusual for someone who doesn't have an acting background to come in and be able to do a voiceover. You know, what does it sound? How do you get that little sparkle in your eye? How do you get a smile in your voice? How do you... No. Although recently someone was discovered in a bookstore, got a big campaign, and then someone called me to meet them. I have had them in because they got that campaign, but that's a really unusual situation.
We all kind of hope we're going to get discovered.
You know, voiceover is hard, but we are always looking for new voices, and if it's something that you enjoy, go for it. Have other interests so you don't get discouraged, especially if you're an actor, you're in a play or anything, and you just never know. You know, when I go to theater, showcases, whatever, I'm always listening for the voice besides looking for the on-camera, you know, from that angle. So, you know, it definitely can happen.
Well, Terry, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I know our listeners, our voice actors, are going to be really learning a lot from this.
This is really cool. I'm here with you.
Exactly. We're sitting in this.
This is a wonderful idea.
It's so great to be here in your world.
This Voice Registry podcast was brought to you by VoiceBank.net. Join us next time.